So on today's video, I am going to first talk about what I'm doing, and then I'm going to talk about how I'm going to do what I'm doing. So this is a customer's ring, and I'm just going to talk to you about a couple of things first. I did not design this ring, but you can see how there's a giant piece missing out of this side, and there was a piece, this brown spot right here. This was also broken. This was a customer's opal, and I don't know if the jeweler mentioned how opals and rings are not copacetic. However, opals are very fragile and you have to be very careful with them. And one of the things that I would never do with an opal is leave an exposed edge. This is just asking. It doesn't take much for this to break. The other thing that I have to say about this jeweler, who I don't know, is when this ring broke, it's broken a couple times. Within a couple of weeks of having it made, inserting a piece of colored epoxy where it broke was not an acceptable answer to the, "Oh, I'm sorry, your ring broke." I feel that in this case, this really was the jeweler's poor decision, regardless of the customer's ask. A good designer tells their clients what can happen, what will happen, and tries to steer them away from that happening. The other thing is, she's got arthritic fingers, so these little balls was his answer for having it not be too tight. These don't really work all that well for most people. I will be doing a soldered gold bar right here that is actually a little bit spring-loaded on either side, so it'll fit on the interior of the shank. And to stop this from spinning, you should have just had this slightly wider at the back. That would have reduced the spin. And knowing the woman's profession, first of all, it's supposed to be an engagement ring, but knowing what she does, I don't know if I would have had my opal sticking up that much. I really should have had it put down. Anyways, customer still really wants an opal in the ring. I have informed her of the concerns, which are always a problem. So these are the opals of hers that I get to choose from. Now, again, this is an engagement ring. The opals are basically family heirlooms. I believe they were her mother's. So when I look at these, I feel that the large one, which is very similar in size to this one, is really a poor choice for an engagement ring because it is so large. But also, where's the wedding band going on this? There is no location for a wedding band, so first step is I'm not going to use that one. I feel that if of these remaining three, this one here, you can see it's got some nice fire, but it's pretty small. And they're all triplets, by the way. What that means is, and I'll show you on the large one. You can see this particular one has a white bottom. I'm not sure what stone, it's probably quartz. And then there's a thin layer of opal right here and then a glass top. They're all glued together. So you have to be careful with heat on doublets and triplets, and because the glue is heat sensitive and it can break down over time. This one here is quite a nice stone as well, as is this one, you know, the good looking opals. So I think this one's a little bit small and it has a red line through it. When I look at this one is mostly greens and a little bit of red, blues. So what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna go with, I don't actually know yet. I might use the round one because it's a little bit bigger, and then I'll get customer feedback afterwards. So for now, I'm just gonna plan it with this one. So what I've carved on my lathe so far is an offset band. So it's thinner at the bottom and thicker at the top. And the way I do that is I put a shim in one side after I've cut the middle core, and then that gives me an offset. So what I want to do is I want to take my calipers and I just want to go around and I want to make sure that I know exactly where the thickest point is on the top. And then I'm just going to mark it. So I have the top, and I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom so that 1.9, 2. So it's a little heavy right now, but I know I have material to remove from the outside. So there's 1.9 right there. So that's roughly the top and the bottom. Not too worried about the bottom because I'm going to deal with that later. In this case, because she might want to wear an engagement ring, or sorry, a wedding band on one side, I'm going to try to keep one side of the ring basically flat. Then she can wear it with a wedding band, and the wedding band can be anything. It could be something simple, which would make sense, to be honest with you, or something complicated. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my center of my ring. I'm going to do that by, in a position that doesn't really matter, just drawing a line with my dividers on both sides, and I can see that I have to go a little bit wider. I could measure this out, but to be honest with you, this is as accurate. So this is going to be my center line here. I'm just going to draw that line all the way around. Now this is just a guideline. I don't, because I'm doing a somewhat abstract piece, I don't really need to worry about that. What I do need is I need to decide exactly where the opal's going to go on this piece, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to be setting this in a bezel, and I'm going to be doing it with I'm going to back set it. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to get a measurement on this opal. And as soon as I have this measurement and I have this first thing done, so it's basically 9 millimeters. So I'm going to put that in here and just set this bag off to the side and put it back in her job bag so I don't misplace it. So I've got 9 millimeters to work with, and then I have bezel wall and bezel thickness to deal with. I'm going to do a bezel because it's going to support the piece all the way around. And the big problem with a bezel, and I'll just grab a small one here, two things. First, so that little seat, that's where the stone would go. In this case, this is for a faceted stone. But you basically have a flat piece of sheet and then the stone goes in. Now, it's an opal. So opals, especially in white gold, are not, they're very soft and they don't like having anything done to them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a bezel, and then I'm going to set the stone from behind, and then I'm going to laser weld the back of the ring, or have somebody do it because I don't have a laser welder. So first thing I'm going to do in this design is I'm going to plan out exactly where my stone is going to go. And this is, I'm freeforming this one. I've showed her other rings that I've done, and oops, sorry about that. My camera stand is right near my flex shaft pedal. I accidentally tapped it. So go to the top of the ring, and in this case, this is very wide. I'm not going to use this whole width. I am going to put it in the center, however, maybe just a little bit towards one side. So I'm just going to drill a hole first, and from that position I have to do a 9 millimeter circles, so I'm just going to check. So this is about 8 and a little bit, and that's what I'm going to use. That's going to be my final hole size. Before I get there, however, I am going to open the hole up with I could open it up with a ball burr, I could open it up with whatever. I'm going to use a rotary file, and if you watch my videos, I do use rotary files with end cutters so that I can do this sort of thing. So I'm just going to plunge cut. Like that. And so those little teeth on the end is what I use to cut that. And in this case, I'm just going to widen it out just a little bit. And the reason for that is, and I know that's not a perfect circle right now, and that's fine. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to be able to now go in with my larger cutter and plunge cut that. So you can see this cutter has a whole bunch of plastic all over it. So I was doing some modeling in plastic. So I'm just going to clean it off before I use it with my file card. And for those of you who don't know, this is a file card. I use that on my rotary files as well as everything else. So again, I'm going to plunge cut this. You got to be careful with this, but because I'm just going into wax. So this is slightly smaller than my stone size. And because I'm going to backset it, which I'm going to do first. That's the first thing I'm going to do, is make sure that that stone fits in there. Because I'm going to backset it, I need to, I'm going to use, oops, I'll just put that over there. I'm going to use a very large ball burr. And unfortunately, the largest ball burr I have. I would go a little bit bigger if I could. But as I don't have a larger one, this will have to do. I'm going to measure the ball burr. Looks like it is just under 7 millimeters, 7.9 millimeters. I think I have a video on my YouTube channel on how to read calipers, by the way. I don't use digital calipers, and there's a reason for that. So what I'm going to do now, and let's see if I can show this to you, is I'm going to go in from the back, and I'm going to make a seat for that stone from the back. And then the stone will get pushed in. I'm just exposing more of my ball burr and my flex shaft so I can get in there a bit better. So keep dropping that stone or that wax. Okay. So just gonna check that. So you can see, my finger in there, see how that's gonna go in like that, and it's gonna sit in from behind. So I've gotta get that to be as perfect as I can. So to do that, first I'm just gonna pause the video for 1 second.